Hi there, it's April the 9th, and we are looking in Luke's Gospel, continuing our journey at chapter 13, and we're reading verses 1 to 21. Now, at the beginning of this reading, Jesus refers to two historical occurrences, which people were surmising were the judgment of God on those who suffered. The first was the destruction by Pilate of a number of Galileans who had been cut down while they were making sacrifices in the temple at Jerusalem. The others were a group of people upon whom a tower had fallen while they were building at the pool of Siloam. Now it seems there are two things connected here, although seeming disconnected. First of all, the Galileans seem to have been those who were zealots. Galilee was a hive of zealot activity against the Romans. And so perhaps these Galileans were cut down because they were suspected of being zealots against the Roman government, whereas the building of the Tower of Siloam is probably to do with the connection to the Roman aqueduct which Pilate had built in order to feed the city, and therefore those who worked on this tower were conniving with the Roman government. So you've got on the one hand those who are considered to be sinners because they are working against the Roman government, those are considered to be sinners because they're working with the Roman government. But Jesus is saying that's not what this is about. It's actually about recognizing Messiah. It's actually about recognizing the one who's coming. And then Jesus tells this parable of the fig tree, which is actually left to see if it will fruit. The people of Israel are not receiving Jesus as Messiah. And it's not about God judging individual acts as to whether they are pro or against Rome. It's about whether they're receiving Jesus as Messiah. And so Jesus is saying that the Father is leaving the land of Israel for a bit more to see whether it will turn and receive Jesus. Then there's an occurrence in a synagogue on the Sabbath day of Jesus freeing a woman who is bound up with a spirit of sickness, of illness. And she is freed and she's able to stand up and people are amazed. But the leader of the synagogue is incensed because Jesus is doing this on the Sabbath, on the Saturday. And he says there are 6 days in which to work and the seventh day is to be kept as holy. But Jesus says, you hypocrite, don't you untie your animals and take them out to drink on the Sabbath? How can you therefore say that this woman, who 18 years she's been tied up, shouldn't be set free on the Sabbath? And it says that while his enemies, while those who were against him are annoyed with Jesus and angry with Jesus, the people generally are rejoicing at what Jesus has said. It's so possible, again, to be so taken up with the externals that we miss, in the midst of it, the action of grace, the action of Jesus. Israel was so in danger of missing Jesus because they were so tied up in the externalism of the law, the externalism of just doing the outward things rather than having their hearts changed. But Jesus, through his actions, is bringing freedom. And he says at the end of this reading that the kingdom of God is like something that starts very small, like yeast or like a mustard seed, a tiny seed, but grows into something powerful, something which pervades the whole. And that's what we want for the kingdom of God, for God's kingdom, for Jesus' lordship, to be in our lives like that little piece of yeast, that little piece of seed that grows and takes over our whole lives. Have a very good April the 9th.